Hey, everybody. I wanted to share with you an experience that I had last night that taught me some valuable thoughts about self confidence and courage. So, last night I went to a local gas station to pick up something to eat after a late shift. And when I got there, as I was getting out of my car, I heard someone kind of yelling and saying, hey, you, come over here. And across from me, just a car down, was an older woman who had her door open and she was trying to get my attention. And she just said, hey, can you come here for a second, please? And of course, I looked around to see if this was a sketchy thing, if there were people that might be trying to, attack me or something. And it was pretty lighted and right next to the store. So I thought, well, I think this is pretty okay. So I kind of cautiously walked my way over, and she explained, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed to ask you this, but I'm $12 short of refilling a phone card, and I have a card, but it only works for food. So if you're going to go in and get food, I'd be happy to pay for that if you would give me money to pay for this card." And I just thought, I'm not going to do that, but I considered what was going on, and I gave her some of the money she was asking for and went in and got my stuff and left. And as I was driving home, I began to think about the amazing amount of courage and commitment to her desire she had to have to overcome the obstacles that would come up to reach out to a stranger and say, "Hey, I want to invite you to help me." And it started to brew in my mind, like it inspired me to think, I wonder what obstacles I am going to have to be overcoming to invite people into a coaching relationship with myself. Like, what are the same things she has conquered that I am in the middle of getting to and climbing up? They're kind of like mountains or obstacles that I have to climb. And so I started to consider the very first obstacle. One of the most challenging is this whole thought of the high possibility of failure. And what does failure mean? In her case, failure would mean not probably being able to get the money that she was hoping for from somebody, some random person. And how we define failure is so powerful in our brains. What a failure can look like that holds us in place can look very different than failure that moves us forward in our pursuit of our dreams. Another obstacle that this person has to climb is her fear or her concern about what others might think about her. She may have conquered her fear of other people's opinions, of criticism or ridicule of her behavior. Another hard thing that she had to accomplish is she had to have enough kind of helpful thoughts that she was willing to do something that was difficult or awkward. And that's kind of like she had to get over a dependence on other people's opinions of her in order to accomplish this difficult task of asking somebody for something. And a final thing that I considered she had to get over was a fear of feeling her own feelings of shame or rejection or embarrassment. She had to conquer these things in order to just get to the courage place where she could ask a stranger, me, for some money. This is why this is so important. I see our thoughts as like small little engines that propel us forward towards our dreams or idle us in the current place where we're still at. And we have to find the energy of desire enough to get us to do these uncomfortable things. And the reason they're uncomfortable is for every reason I just said. The failure possibility, the possibility that we'll take on other people's criticisms, the possibility that we'll fuel our own criticism, and the possibility that we'll feel emotions that are very uncomfortable. And as we think of thoughts as engines, what's cool about it is thoughts, by their very nature, are optional. Like, nobody can implant a thought, at least yet, into my mind. I have to think of it myself, and I have to decide if I'm going to choose it or believe it. Most of that process is we're unaware of it. It's just something we sort of it sort of happens. It's thought that we have somewhere between 40 and 60,000 thoughts a day, and we're not consciously aware of every one of those thoughts. However, when we practice the skill of becoming aware of our thoughts and acknowledging the direction these thoughts are propelling our future, that is a very uncommon and very powerful skill. And that's what I'm going to talk about next. Thoughts that propel towards courage, towards a feeling of self-confidence, would be thoughts like, I'm the biggest cheerleader for myself. Nobody has my back more than me. I'm not going to be mean to myself anymore. I'm done with that. I own all of my emotions. I can handle them because I know that all my emotions come from my own thinking, and I control my thinking. I am not afraid of failure because failure is the way. When I fail, I choose what failure means. And for me, I choose that failure means I did something big and hard, and that means I am successful, particularly if I do that big, hard thing, don't succeed, and then look back and say, way to go, you did it. You accomplished the internal success of thinking well of yourself, even in the midst of failure. Another power forward type thought is, I am not going to fail ahead of time by not trying. I am going to at least try and see what the outcome shows. Perhaps I will fail if it's a big, hard thing, but there is a possibility of success as well. I'm not going to follow the thought, that's impossible. I can't try that. We're not born with these feelings of courage and self-confidence in our bodies. I know it seems like some people are, but that is not the truth. The truth is we earn the feelings of confidence or self-confidence and courage by the way we think about ourselves, especially when we are not successful or when we fail. Failure, of course, is determined by our thoughts. Like what we make something mean determines whether we fail. Some examples of how these thought engines either power us forward or keep us idling where we're at. I was at a gym class. After a gym class, I was sitting down and talking with one of the coaches and a friend, and he was telling me about his desire to lift heavier weights when he was training with another friend at the gym, and how he would have to tell himself, I can do this, even though he wasn't sure he could. They were bigger weights than what he'd done before. And he was saying how important it was that he wasn't telling himself, I don't know if I can do this or I can't do this, because that wouldn't give him the commitment that he needed, the feeling of commitment to try and lift those bigger weights. Another friend of mine at the gym having a similar conversation was saying, I've got this challenge exercise coming up. There's this gym challenge that's going on, and a lot of the challenges are upper body type exercises, and I'm just not strong in my upper body. I want to point out that the power thought in her mind at the moment that she didn't recognize perhaps was a power thought was, I'm not strong in my upper body. And the kind of energy or propulsion that gives is probably much more of an idling. Like that's probably not going to give her a sense of courage or of strength to continue to press forward and get stronger. It probably is going to keep her idling right where she's at, and probably keep her from trying for those heavier weights or trying for those bigger reps. So what about you? What are the power thoughts in your mind that propel you towards your dream or towards your difficult task of maybe asking for that thing that has a high possibility of no or failure? How do you think you would show up differently if you had amazing levels of courage or self-confidence? Why is it important for you and me to go for no, to be like that person asking a stranger for money, having a desire that's so strong that it gets us over the obstacles of our own thinking in order to reach that desire? Why might you be ready to work with someone so that you can become more skilled at recognizing and understanding the thought engines that are powering your life? If you are ready to be done with your own inner critic, self-sabotager, failure is defined by my outward appearance, then I believe you are ready to work with a life coach. And I'm Joel Erickson. I am a life coach, and my job is to help people understand the thought engines that are powering them and empower them to have the choice over whether they're going to choose to continue to believe that thought or perhaps construct new powered thoughts that help move them more towards the direction of their life. I love helping people become more connected to themselves and to other people and confident in their actions and in courageous actions that they're doing. If this sounds something that you would enjoy participating with, I invite you to reach out to me. You can reach me through the email, or you can reach out to me through text or in person. Thank you so much for your time.